Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh. What do you mean, okay? I'm on?
Yes.
Hello? You did? I'm not hearing. I'm looking for my... There they are. Hello? I'm sorry. Highly unprofessional of me.
Oh.
We welcome back with great ceremony. Well, not.
A kazoo and one spoon. Oh, thank you. My public remembers me.
Oh, we missed you.
Oh, I missed you too as well.
Thomas Sokolowski. Does anybody call you Thomas?
No, not really.
Ever.
Oh, you know who does? When you do business on the phone, and they always say, because Sokolowski, not so hard, can we call you Mr. T or Mr. Thomas? Well, Mr. Thomas, because it's always, someone who's in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Named Jisha. You're never going to understand what they're saying. And, thank you, Mr. Thomas.
I did a reservation the other day for a rental car. I understood maybe every other word of this woman on the other end. I think I understood enough.
So maybe you'll have a pickup truck when you get to your destination.
Please, I hope. I didn't want to say what. I just sort of, I don't know, faked my way through it.
Now, this is going to sound Republican and conservative, but I think, it's marvelous if places like Bangalore and that can be these service area representatives. But I think the idea is, especially it's going to be over the telephone with not particularly efficient connections, that they hire people who can be articulate.
Yes.
I remember there was a thing at the beginning when someone wrote about this and saying they people were very, because it was a brand new sort of scenario, so they wanted people to be comfortable. So if you would say, oh, well, I'm Thomas Sokolowski, I'm from Pittsburgh, and the person would have these little notes like saying, how about them Stillers?
Yeah, right.
One time someone did that. I said, how about them Papadums?
the what?
Oh, Papadums. Those when you go to an Indian restaurant, the first thing they give you are those, they look like a big potato chip with black sesame seeds. They're really good. And you just chew them. It's like a wafer.
I thought that a Papadum was a kind of,
No, I have no idea.
Oh, it's a strange new world. And every day brings us a stranger.
Oh, yes,
one.
Of course. Right, exactly.
It's really something. So you were mostly in New York City?
Exclusively in New York City.
Exclusively in New York City. And the Big Apple's doing well these days?
Oh, yeah. No, it was exciting. It was nice, crisp weather, as I presume it was here.
Yeah, beautiful.
And just, it's always, the New York Minute and people rushing about. We were just talking earlier about the fact of fads in New York. And when all of a sudden, green Keds are in fashion, everyone has them. Everyone has them. You look everywhere. Teenagers and, social x-ray, 60-year-old ladies. And then the next week, they're out and no one has them. And so every orphan, whoever orphans are, has them because the ladies
they've gone down one.
Yes, exactly.
But gosh, I react to that with just I cringe at the just outrageous materialism and shallowness and commercialism of it all. Really?
Well,
but you don't. You get excited.
Well, I know. I wouldn't go out and buy them, but I mean, it's sort of fun to think that there's just that there's a certain section of people who don't either have the who have the financial wherewithal,
obviously,
but don't have the brain wherewithal to spend that time, at clinic helping, poor babies or something. They just assume we're kids and be in a
right. So it's like it's true shallowness. It reminds me of a scene that I saw yesterday. I had gone to get my hair cut, and there was a young woman in the next chair who I could not for the life of me figure out what she was doing there. The hairstylist was every once in a while would pick up some of her hair and sort of throw it, and then he would say, shake your head, and she would shake it, and then they would, and then she had a friend with her, and then they would all get this really serious look on their faces, and somebody would say, no, I just don't think it's right. I feel this, and I have to tell you, this went on for an hour. I swear every strand of hair on that woman's head had to be talked about, had to be worried over. No, here's what it was. I found out later because I had to ask. I said, what the hell was that? She had, days earlier, come in and gotten
extensions. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounded like that. And
yes, because every once in a while she would say, no, that's my hair. Or, no, that's not. And, I just don't. And so this stylist tried to put it up, and she said, oh, no, and down. And then, and she kept stroking. She never stopped sort of stroking it and stroking it. And the friend would back up and look. And for an hour. And every once in a while, he'd take out his scissors and go psst, psst. And then they would all it was the most ludicrous thing I have ever seen. More brain power and worry being exerted over this hair that just looked like a hank of hair. It was nice hair. It was just hanging.
And if the wind blew around when she got out, it was all ruined anyway.
But the funny thing was, I was told later that she comes almost every day.
Oh, my God.
And they're going through this all the time. And as she was leaving, she made
$250 a clip or
I don't know. I said, boy, I hope you're trying. What would be the thing you charge her for? I think some kind,
stress, sort of.
And as she was
$6
leaving,
for cutting, $244 for Soros.
As she was leaving, she said, I'll see you Friday. And I thought, oh, my God. So apparently she comes in every day, and so that's got to be that's a mental issue.
Oh, yeah, it's like a phobia, fetish, nutcase.
But the shallowness of using so much of your time and energy on something so absurd.
Well, but hair cutters have to make a living.
Well, but even the hair cutters in there aren't that interested in hair. I mean...
and that's silliness.
Yeah, the others were saying we kill her.
You can never please her.
I was having dark images of fantasies of running out and getting a motorized hedge clipper and coming at her.
Coming with a divot.
Yeah, right. And sort of a new kind of slasher film.
Today, audience, this is the Hate Beauty Show. All makeup is poisonous. It rips your lips and...
No, it shows what a hostile personality I really have. And I just reread in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that one of the indicators of, whether or not you're going to croak from a heart attack is people who are hostile. Have a
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Because there was something else about...
How to survive a heart attack.
Because there was something on TV about the more sedentary you are, the more likeliness of stroke, but that sort of makes sense, if you don't exercise. But...
Well, this article said that if you're spend most of your day in a chair, that it is the equivalent of being a heavy smoker in terms of the impact on your health.
Well, it's interesting. I remember a few years ago where I had sort of some stress and what have you. And I remember at certain points when you really would become really angry about something, at least in my case, it happened very rarely, but you could feel like your blood pressure going up.
Yeah.
And like, you're just like, I'll bash your head in.
No, yes, absolutely. It's a horrible feeling to feel like you're really going to explode. Yeah, I've had that too. But then I became.
And we're such grounded people.
Well, but that's because I'm now medicated.
Oh, me too.
Are you really?
Oh, yes, exactly. Pop a pill, my dear. Pop a pill.
No, really, it's made things.
Well, there have been so many articles. Yeah, no, it is. But there have been so many articles really saying that the proportion of people who are on some sort
like
of
antidepressant
mood stabilizers, psychotropic drugs, is horrendous. I mean, it's like 80-some% of the population.
Yeah, I suspect some maybe shouldn't be, but it also says something about says a lot, I suppose, about our culture. It suggests a very stressed out population. It also suggests a population that wants a quick fix. No?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've thought about this a lot about my mother, who was a lovely, lovely person, but was a very anxious woman all her life. And I'm one of those people, what do they call them, who are like if you're near someone who's like anxious or...
You get anxious yourself?
Yeah, right. There's a name for that. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway.
Sympathetic response.
No, but it's something similar to that, but I can't think of the word. But anyway, and I just think my mother, if she had just had something that could have evened her out... It would have made it more pleasant for her, let alone me as her son or whatever. Yeah,
and now they have those things.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, one doesn't have to be on, heavy duty.
You don't have to be on that stuff that makes you into a zombie.
Right.
What these drugs do, if in fact you have a problem, it's sort of a chemical problem.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, yes.
Your brain is putting out too much of one thing or not enough of another. These things can come in and sort of tweak the gauges. Yeah. And the thing that just blew me away when I was first introduced to one of these wonderful pharmaceuticals was that I felt, somebody said, but you'll lose you. You won't be you. And I was very worried about that.
Yeah, sure.
Turns out I was more me.
Yeah, right.
I felt totally like me. What was off was the edge, this awful edge that used to...
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
I remember once, what was his name? He got kicked off of TV for something. Dan Rather. And I remember he talked on, what was that show, 60 Minutes? Mm-hmm. One time that he had been on, I think for 20 years, he had been clinically depressed.
Well, so what? You might be thinking of Mike Wallace.
No, it was Mike Wallace. You're absolutely right. It wasn't Dan Rather. It was Mike Wallace. And he talked very articulately about it.
Yeah.
And he could get through the day, and he was professional, but for 20 years.
Right.
And it's something that just sort of came upon him, just like you would get leukemia or something. And then it sort of, through drugs and everything, he sort of then worked out of it. But 20 years, it's a third of your life.
I mean, it is a lot of people who suffer from that. As Winston Churchill was famously very depressive.
Right.
And he would call it, I think, his black dog. It just sort of just descends upon you, and it's awful. It is awful, and I wish that when I were younger I had some of these things. It would have made my life a lot better.
Oh, sure. I think
it's a very depressed person.
Well, no, I think it's it's all the things you mentioned about the edges put upon us by society and our parents who have their own qualms. But I do think it's that notion that you take them just like you take drugs for any other thing. I mean, if you have goiter problems or you have this, you take them and it makes you survive.
And it's too bad that I guess some people still have this problem acknowledging that there's something.
Well, I remember
shameful.
my mother would say, she was a woman of advanced age, but like, oh, I'm not a weak person, or I'll just say a little prayer, but take a drug. I mean, now again, we've probably gotten to, when you hear teenagers, I'm depressed, some of that may be true, but some of it is just, silliness. But, thank God for those little pills.
I would agree. So I want you to take a look at this great radio. Take a look at this mustache.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
You know what that looks like, actually?
What does that look like?
You know, do you remember the woman in town, Fat Mandy?
Oh, yeah.
Well, her husband is a guy named Bull Seal, and he has a mustache like that.
His name is Tommy Obama. Tommy Amoeba.
But oh no, they were part of the Bull Seal Collective. That's what it was. But he had at one point a mustache like that went off.
Oh, okay, because Tommy Amoeba does not have a...
Oh, well, then maybe he's cut it off. I don't know.
He didn't, wow.
But
see, this guy...
Is he Indian or something like that?
He's Pakistani.
Pakistani.
And he's run afoul of the Islam.
Of the beauty. This mustache goes out like 4 inches on each side of his face.
More than 4 inches.
No, more. It's like 12 inches.
It's like a foot.
It's starched.
A foot, and it's starched, and then it heads back up. So it's, it's just an amazing...
It looks like one of those Sikh...
Yes, exactly.
Because they can't cut their hair.
It's just amazing, though. Anyway, he's run afoul. I mean, this is obviously no man sports something like this without this being his prize
shtick,
possession, right? Uh-huh. So some local Islamist, fundamentalist crowd got hold of him, and they kidnapped him and, well...
Cut it off.
Well, it's better than getting your head cut off, which is what they also did. But they did. They cut it off.
That's like the Amish. Remember the Amish?
That's true. Well, there's still that trial still going on. Yeah.
Listen, Orthodox religious people are nuts.
Yeah. Poor guy was abducted at gunpoint. He got away with his life, but not with the stash. And he has since fled his town. And he is growing it back. And the quote is, "I have left my dear homeland, my friends and relatives. I am prepared to sacrifice all that, but will not compromise my mustache."
I think you should go to your beautician with that girl. They're equally nuts.
Can you imagine? I'll give up my family. I'll give up everything, but not my mustache.
He needs Prozac. Someone should put it in his doll,
How's this for a slap at the North Koreans? This is a quote from an unidentified U.S. government spokesperson talking about their rocket.
That went up 2 feet and plowed.
Yeah, and kaplooey. He said it was a dishwasher wrapped in tinfoil.
Well, you know what I found so interesting about that was how much the papers and quoting, people in the CIA and whatever said that this could bring down, and I can remember the name
the
of
kid?
King Sung
no, it ain't
the Third.
Nah.
Well, but they said, what was interesting is that probably the scientists were all sent to Siberia or killed. When
I heard that the thing had been exploded, I thought, oh my God, there's definitely some rocket scientists in North Korea who are.
Well, what I thought was great was along that.
Can you imagine? Talk about stress on the job.
Well, really.
Can you imagine if it doesn't work? You're dead.
The picture you probably saw. I think it was the Times. Was this Kim Jong the Fourth or whatever? Big fat kid standing there on this plinth, and behind him were these 17,000-foot tall statues of his father
and grandfather. Right.
I thought that's already part of the sickness.
Can you imagine living? Well, can you imagine living your life with that? I mean, and seeing your future. I mean, if you make it, you'll be the third 5,000. Exactly. I mean,
but he looked like Baby Huey.
He does, but they all were. The father was bizarre looking.
That's true too. Yeah, exactly.
Usually powerful men like that who aren't particularly attractive, of course, mate with the most beautiful women. And so each generation does get better looking. That does not seem to be happening with the Kim Jong.
Well, I remember on the same notion there was that film. I can't remember what it was called, Secret Double, which was about the elder son of Saddam Hussein. And his elder son found someone that he went to prep school with who was almost his double. and he felt he needed a surrogate because people always start trying to kill him.
Right.
And so he got this guy, and he said, you will do this, and he forced him to get certain plastic surgery. But he would do things like when the Olympic team, and this is fact, the Olympic team didn't do well at the Olympics, like break their legs and pull off their testicles, and, horrible. You didn't get a gold medal, lump.
Can you imagine? No, there's countries where these poor athletes...
Yeah. Or anything.
Oh my
God. You displease.
Yay!
Oh, we should go into the chorus of God Bless America.
Yes, I know. I was just going to say, let us go into... here's a guy I wanted to ask you about, speaking of obits. Because
Clark.
Oh, right. I never mentioned Dick Clark.
Dick Clark.
I have to tell you, he never loomed large in my...
No, neither I.
You too? Why is that? I remember... Did you watch American Band?
A few times. But I was with the girls.
Too. Well, so what? I didn't even watch... What? Were we weird?
I guess
Because everybody watched it.
Well, I remember the Jabrinsky girls next door. Mary and Sandra would rush home from school.
It was what on from 3:30 to 5? It was or 2 hours or
3 to 4:30. But it was very funny. In today's Times or whatever, they had a picture of Dick Clark surrounded by Fabian, Frankie Avalon, and Bobby Rydell, and they all looked the same, and they all had that poofed hair.
I know. I think all those guys were from Philly, too.
Yeah, that's what the show heralded for.
So, if American Bandstand had been emanated from Pittsburgh, you wouldn't have had Bobby Rydell and Frank. You would have had some Pittsburgh kids that
they mentioned today in the morning, I guess, it had to be today, that I guess in the evening news they were going to have one of those pop stars of that period who lives now somewhere in western Pennsylvania was going to speak about his experiences but I can't remember who it was.
They all meld, but yes, there is one here, one of those pompadoured, good-looking. Who's the one from western Pennsylvania now? Is it Frankie Avalon? No, it's not. I don't know.
I just remember Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello in their stupid. And then didn't she turn out to have some awful disease?
Yeah, but I don't know. Where was I in my youth? Because I was never into any of it. I'm trying to think.
You didn't know all those pop songs?
I did. I know that one. No, I knew them because they'd be playing, and then if you went to a dance, there they were. Yeah. But I never ran out and got records. I never sat around listening. I don't recall watching American Bandstand. It
was so funny because one thing I do remember was that these kids who would be on that show would, in their own way, become stars.
Oh, I bet. Sure.
There's Kathy and Bobby who will dance the mashed potatoes. You know what's right? The best thing of that was, oh God, what was the name of it? The John Waters movie that was made about the fat girl.
Hairspray.
Hairspray. Who the fat girl who was a good dancer, but they didn't want her to be on camera because she was fat.
Yeah, Hairspray was definitely a take. I don't know. I got a few checks from the Dick Clark Productions because I did. They'd come at odd intervals, but he had a huge media empire.
Production. Oh yeah, right.
And one of his shows, I think, was the first blooper show.
That's right. I mentioned that in the paper. I wouldn't have remembered that. Yeah.
And
then he also did that, remind me, the $10,000 pyramid.
That became
and then it was on so long. Yeah,
that became 100,000. But yeah, I guess I sent in some clips of me trying to do a stand-up in a TV report that were, didn't make the air, but were funny. Mm-hmm. And they got on. And every time. What was amazing is every time it showed, and then I got something from the BBC saying they wanted that clip, and I once got a residual from someplace in Madagascar or something, for the clip, and I'm thinking, how nice of them to send me this, because how would I know?
How would you know? Right, exactly.
How would I know that they used it? Although somebody, this is a million years ago, was in London, and said they had the TV on in their hotel room.
And then
all of a sudden, there I was.
Well, I have to say on that regard, when I was connected with the Warhol Museum, there is for visual artists, I'm sure there's the same thing for musical things, an organization called Artists' Rights Society, and they have started in New York and all they do is go through print, TV, and then electronic, looking for Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, and if it doesn't have the right footnote saying they will send the lawyers after. So these groups they're like watchdogs.
Wow.
And that's why people like Disney and all that hold you, because for them it means
lots of money. Yeah. Right. No, the obituary that I have here is Hilton Kramer.
Oh yes. Oh.
Now I have to say I did not know that name. I read the obituary. Hilton Kramer died last week or 2 weeks ago. And they say here in the Wall Street Journal he was among the most trenchant and combative art critics of his time. And
that's completely
And
true.
I know he didn't like your Andy Warhol one bit.
Nor did he like me. He and I hated one another.
Well, so tell us some stories
one
about
time,
this.
I remember he once
Hilton
did
Kramer.
this.
Was he the New York? He was the New York Times critic
for a while, and then basically what happened was who was it? John Kennedy? I can't remember. A British guy retired from being the top head of art criticism. He hated Michael Brenson, who was sort of the next in command, hated him so much that he had quite a bit of power and got Michael Kimmelman, who was really young at that, was a friend, to be head art critic. So he got to step up, and he proved himself to be very fine, and still writes now for architecture for the Times. But Hilton Kramer, I remember he once did this review of a show, and nothing I did. He hated my punctuation in the catalog. It was a vicious review, just vicious.
So he came after you as well?
Well, because he didn't like, let's put it this way. He didn't like the show. But what he particularly didn't like, and this was sort of, I would say, in the middle of his career, because right sort of in the 80s was just at that moment through the mid-90s, that period when things like diversity, political issues in art.
Well, it says right here, what he hated were pop and performance artists and anything that smacked of political correctness.
Exactly. And I will give him the credit that he was diligent in the way he looked at things. And, he could really, when he saw a piece of trash, as a painting, just purely from an aesthetic point of view, physically the way it looked, etc. And if it was badly done, he could be very good and articulate about describing that. But he just felt that in the realm of art, things that, politically correct is an easy, cheap term.
Yeah.
But the fact of it, at a certain point, and it was largely due to the economic downturn, artists began to think, well, shit, if no one's going to buy my stuff anyway, let me make very trenchant work about things that are frightening me. AIDS, horrible treatment of black people or gay people or women, the war, that was going on at the time. And Hilton Kramer felt that there was no point to that, because he, for all of his knowledge.
Well, but then how would he respond to something about the fact that the traditional art, the classical art, was often in its time, wasn't it political? And
you said it, oh Queen, not I.
Oh, thank you.
Shakespeare.
Look, so how did he?
And Cleopatra, Act 3.
So why wouldn't he acknowledge that?
Well, because that was the point I was just about to get to, which was he was, if let's say people of my generation were enmeshed or immersed or trying to get out of the whatever because of political stuff and that, he was the same way, calcified in the abstract expressionist movement upwards. Like he was not interested in history. Yeah, you look at David, you look at Caravaggio, you look at Roman sculpture, which took on political moments of the time, death and what have you.
Exactly.
All he was interested in was abstraction. And it was very funny because in addition to that, he had very odd choices. Like he loved Fairfield Porter, who was a perfectly nice artist, but not the greatest Americanist. He also loved this artist, Richard Pousset Dart, who was, a nice painter, but certainly no hot shit. But these were his heroes. And whenever they would have little shows and galleries, he'd go on and on and on and on, ululating about, again, we see the genius. But he was a nasty,
You really
nasty
couldn't stand him,
son
so
of a
you
bitch.
didn't waste any tears on his demise.
No.
On a 1980 exhibit of Andy Warhol portraits of notable Jews, he wrote, it reeks of commercialism, and its contribution to art is nil.
Well, that, you're going to make an interesting comment. That followed. There were two shows. This was like, what was the date you said?
80.
Yeah. In late 79, there was a show of Warhol's portraits, and you're familiar with just 60 inches, 30 inches square, at the Whitney Museum, and it was really decried by Hilton Kramer as well. And then in January, so 3 months later, the most famous Jews, he and other critics had such sort of venom about those two shows that it was 3 years before any commercial or museum nonprofit show happened in America of Andy Warhol. So they
really slapped him down for 3 years.
Oh, he had sold out, and Andy was such and such, but now all he was doing was making rich ladies' portraits. And shows were happening in Europe, and Andy continued to make art for all that time, but not in America.
Another piece of art that some of us might know, Judy Chicago's Dinner Party.
Oh, yes.
He said this about that. Is it art? I suppose so. After all, what isn't nowadays?
Oh, he was a very articulate writer.
I have to tell you, there's part of me that asks that question, too, sometimes. Some of what people say is performance art, or I think, come on.
Well, no, you're absolutely right.
I can go sleep in a window and have people.
Yeah.
How's that art?
Well, no, the point is, you're absolutely right. There is the notion of quality, but his point was he did not go. One can say about figurative art, abstract art, performance art. There's good bits of that and bad bits of that. He would, though, just demolish the genre. Like, there's no such thing as performance art. There's no such thing as figurative art in the late 20th century. And he was also, but it was very funny, he came when I was made director in 1984 of the Gray Gallery at NYU. The university gave me a dinner to sort of introduce me to the critics. And it was a very stellar evening. And I remember I made a speech about what I hoped to do. And I remember Hilton Kramer loved what I said because he was sitting like, woo, woo, and then the worm turned.
That was the height of his,
that was the height. Oh, he hated me. And I hated him, and there was like...
Sorry, I brought it up.
And then it got even worse because the Times would at least temper him. But then he left the Times to be in charge of the new Criterion. And he had all these minions who at least, he was a really good writer, I'll give him that. But Jed Pearl and these other snakes.
Well,
what do you really think, Sokolowski?
The art world.
Oh.
The seamy.
As a friend says in New York, just said this again when I was there, the last and only remaining major business genre that is totally unregulated. And that's true.
Oh, it is.
Totally
I agree.
Unregulated.
It's just, what goes on.
Oh, yeah.
And the money at stake.
And the money keep rolling in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We should take a break.
All right.
I said to Tom when the show started, let's gossip today. Well, we are.
Yeah, we are, but telling the truth.
Well, yes.
In gossip veritas.
In gossip veritas. I can't better that, so we'll be back.
Thank you, my dear.
Yes, of course.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the ballet, opera, City Theater, Science Center, Symphony, History Museum, and the Carnegie Museums. Bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's only online deal site where the deals don't expire. Bergbargains.com.
Hey, Billy, want to go to the state fair?
Yeah!
Well, you can't.
Huh?
Well, you see, Billy, when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have done with it. But now your parents are becoming energy efficient. They could save hundreds of dollars a year and take you to the fair next year.
I want to go now.
I know you do. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All right, here we are. Back again. Tom Sokolowski. Can I just, speaking of obituaries, there was one in today's Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that I want to note. And this one is a woman who I had the privilege of knowing. She's one of these people that, you definitely know the world is reduced by her absence. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. Her name, Mame, is a great name for her. Mame McDowell. And I knew Mame because she was married to a television reporter at Channel 4 when I came here. His name was Al McDowell, and he's been long gone, Al has. But he was married, and he was a funny guy. He was married to Mame. And so I would see her only occasionally, but this is one of those people who, when you were with them, you were happy. When you were with them, you were laughing, you were engaged, you were in love with her. I fell in love with her every time I was with her. And every time I was with her, I thought, I want to see you again. And actually, the last time I saw her, which was maybe about 6 months ago, I said, I want to have lunch. We've got it. And she said, okay. And there was an effort back and forth, didn't make it, and she's gone.
Oh, it's too bad. How old was she, Liz?
82, I believe.
Okay.
She worked for the county for years, and so a lot of politicians, political types, sing her praises as well. Apparently, in that regard, she was just an extraordinarily capable woman, I have no doubt. But one of the funniest, smartest, sharpest.
Wow.
You know how someone's just a flat-out delight?
Yeah.
And her son, Sean, is a DJ at WDVE. And I wrote him last night. I said, I do not know a person who knew your mom, whether, fleetingly or who didn't say they loved her.
Got that. What better legacy?
What better legacy? What a Mame. What a great lady. Great lady. An exemplar. Full of life. I bet up until as a matter of fact, the Obits said that she ended up in some nursing home kind of situation. And this was must have been a relatively short illness that took her because, as I said, she was looking fantastic just months ago. Seems like it was months ago, maybe in the fall. And Sean, I think, is quoted as saying every day she would dress up in, perfect, street clothes and stuff and then sit on her bed. She's ready to go. Ready to go. Oh, Mame.
Well, it's interesting. This sort of hooks into what we were saying earlier with, especially nowadays, so many people being literally or figuratively depressed and on drugs. And here's this woman who was just the exuberance of life.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, when that great John Donne poem, No Man is an Island, it's not, I don't think it's true of everybody. Some people leave this life and they don't necessarily, they're not missed. They don't, no. Whether you knew her or not, you miss this woman, I'm telling you.
No,
the world is
marvelous.
She just did nothing but put out positives, energy, joy.
She made the world a better place.
Oh, God. Say. And she wasn't treacly nice. She was, you know what I mean?
That's a good word.
She was sharp and funny. Oh, God. Love her. So this is very old, but I came upon this and it struck me as unbelievably funny. It has to do with the Queen of England.
Should we stand up while we talk about this?
No, but this is... okay, so this is a while ago. This is, as a matter of fact, 25, 30 years ago.
Just a while. But she was...
Well, she was
already 50.
Yeah, she was already a middle-aged woman. But she was in her bed at Buckingham Palace. And she wakes up, and there's a man in her room.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
You do remember that?
I remember this story, yeah.
She apparently has curtains around her bed.
Oh, like
those, and he had opened the curtains.
Oh, really?
She woke up, and according to the man, he said this. Then she speaks, and it's like the finest glass you can imagine breaking. What are you doing here? Is what the Queen said. And he said, I didn't have time to answer. She got up, went past me, and ran out of the room, her little bare feet running across the floor.
Oh, my.
He got into Buckingham Palace and was wandering around
I remember
in Buckingham Palace. And then he came back again. It was the second time he came back that he found the Queen's bedroom.
They didn't figure out how he got in?
It says he was a 32-year-old petty criminal and drug user. He scaled the wall.
Oh, my goodness.
Even now, he says he's not sure why he did it, but suspects he was into maybe some magic mushrooms. Okay? He prowled around the palace. He said, it was like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But he left through the garden door. A few weeks later, he comes back, scales the wall, and ends up in the Queen's bedroom, pulls back the curtain. What are you doing here? And that's when he was caught. But I was thinking, in terms of the security that we have come to expect today, what? Can you imagine? I mean, how could somebody
you would think the first time they would have so tightened the security.
And after the Queen went running out of the bedroom to get help, the footman, the Queen's footman, who was unarmed, stayed in the bedroom with him and gave him a glass of whiskey. He said, "Fucking hell, mate, you look like you need a drink." His name, I recall, this is the guy, his name, I recall, was Y-Brew, which is a funny name for someone offering you a drink, isn't it? Y-Brew. You look like you need a drink. Okay, now how would somebody gets in the Queen's bedroom. They're offered a glass of whiskey. There are no guards. The Queen herself goes running for help.
With her little bare feet.
With her little bare feet. And I'm thinking, that isn't, okay, so that's
he could have
nice.
stabbed her, suffocated
Anything,
her, whatever.
but no, he had no ill intent.
Had his way with her.
He had no ill intent. He was just looking around.
I can tell you, I have a Queen story.
Okay.
A friend who was working at a museum in Miami, and it's not apocryphal, this friend was there. The Queen came to visit the States and was on the yacht. So the yacht stopped in Miami, or Sarasota, I can't remember, Sarasota or Miami. And various people in the arts community were invited, because this was evening to honor someone or other. And my friend was in line, and behind him was someone he knew who was a photographer. So my friend, when, he said, I was thinking, oh, what can I say clever to her? And he got up there and had nothing clever. So, oh, how do you do, ma'am? So the next one came in, and she said to him, oh, what do you do? And he said, oh, I'm a photographer, ma'am. And she said, oh, how interesting. My brother-in-law is a photographer, too. And he said, oh, how interesting. My brother-in-law is a queen. And she just sort of looked and turned to the next person.
No.
Yes, my friend. That a great line.
That is. Oh my God. That's grand slam. I mean, that's just.
Now you wish at that point the Queen would have said like.
Yeah, you wish but she might not have understood it. Do you think?
Well, I don't know. I always remember one time when it was her Silver Jubilee, because it was years and years ago. There was a TV show about a day in the life of the Queen. And it was interesting how, she went, and it was funny, they would describe to her, now, madam, you're going to unveil a plaque at the children's blah, 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 in Whitechapel. And she'd say, oh, do I push a button, or do I have a lever, or do I pull a string? Well, you pull a string, madam. Will it be on the left or the right? So she would go like, pull string. So anyway, in the evening, and then she went to all these things and met children and all this crap.
God, what a life.
Well, the evening, it was a dinner that was honoring, at that point, the president of Poland, Lech Wałęsa. Do you remember? So this was, in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they had something, and he was eating. She was standing there with Princess Margaret and with the Queen Mother. And it was like and I don't know, she obviously didn't know this, and they had a boom behind her, and she said, oh, Bobby, did you see that Polish man was just gobbling his food like a swine, just gobbling his food.
Oh, no!
That was hilarious.
So this is one of those off-mic moments.
Exactly.
Oh, Mommy!
Well, it was said that the royal family was not exactly the most politically correct of people.
No.
Time too, and this is
her husband, Philip, is just infamous.
He did a thing in, was it Hong Kong? No, it was Beijing.
I think it was Australia.
No, this was Beijing.
Beijing.
And he was meeting with people, expats who were living there. I guess it was when they started opening up a little bit in China. And it was at the British Embassy. And he said, oh, what is it like living among all these slitty-eyed people? Oh, and it came out. And he said, I thought the British people knew better than to give up the hortus conclusus of that they would dare speak out of what was held in sanctity.
Oh, that somebody had... Hortus
conclusus is Latin.
We can't get through an hour with Tom without me learning something. Okay.
Hortus conclusus literally means enclosed garden. Like,
enclosed garden. Hortus being the garden.
Yeah. And conclusus meaning,
confined.
Yeah.
Hortus
but also it was the term that was used for the virgin because her vagina was a hortus conclusus.
Oh, yes.
The unbreached garden. But anyway, the royal family. Oh, Gewalt.
Oh, man. No, you wouldn't want to. Oh, God.
Boring. Poor Diana.
Well, you know what? But poor. I mean, all of them, even if they don't even know. If you're born into that, what a constricted, odd life. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the one thing you have to say about
go back to Princess Diana because it's so many years ago. But at least when you look at her kids, they seem sort of like
they seem okay,
semi-real people.
Yeah, they do.
And that's one thing she did try to give them.
Right.
I mean, and I'm sure they're not completely.
Well,
this goes in. I know this is a weird segue in my sick mind, but I think one of the most interesting things in the last few days. And I haven't followed as diligently maybe as I should, but this whole kerfuffle, if that's the right word,
with the sister?
No. This whole business about how many hookers. And how many people
Secret Service?
Drunken people and having hundreds of thousands of dollars of parties.
Where?
When they went to this last. Where was it? Somewhere.
You're talking about Secret Service?
Yeah, and don't you remember it started with the picture of. What's her name? Hillary Clinton drinking from a bottle of beer. And then it turned out they found bills that Secret Service people and other military who'd go on these junkets for some of these conferences were, spending a fortune in bars, and then they were hiring hookers.
Are you conflating two different stories about the General Services Administration scandal where they went off to Las Vegas or something?
Well, that was another
okay, that's
one,
different. And then, or the Secret
thing.
Service guy in Secret Service in Colombia.
Both. I mean,
where they had, they started with, they had each had a hooker apiece. Then it looked like they might have had 2 hookers apiece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of this is government money paying for poontang, as they used to say in the South.
Yeah, what else is new? Can we take a break?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Sokolowski Med Spa is Pittsburgh's newest med spa, offering the latest in skincare treatments and medical-grade skincare products. Their providers have years of experience with aesthetic treatments and technologies such as Botox, Restylance, Juvederm, chemical peels, Retin-A, and spider vein treatments. They offer a discreet, personalized environment with only the best quality proven services and products. Call them today for a free consultation. 412-259-8628. The Sokolowski Med Spa. 412-259-8628.
Pittsburgh City Paper's exclusive look at vets coming home is available now. Pick up one today for Pieces of Pittsburgh, Twisted, Marley, and News of the Weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
He doesn't understand that.
Okay. So,
Any more Queen stories?
I don't think so. I'm trying to think of any queens. No.
No, we're not. We feel.
I once struck up a bit of a friendship with a woman who I think would have been a queen. She was a princess, Romanian, and
Is there a limerick, something like, and I'm the Queen of Romania? I can't remember where that's from.
I can't
the Three
remember.
Stooges or Groucho Marx or something.
Yeah. I can't remember.
So where did you meet
I met her.
Princess
I met.
de Romanie.
I don't know. It was like Beaver County. I'm
princess of
not
Beaver County.
kidding. It was so odd, and I'm sure some of you remember the story better than I. She was a wondrous woman.
Oh.
She really was. So during World War II, she ended up in exile with her family. She ends up in, I don't know, South America somewhere. The pictures of her, she looks, she showed me a portrait of her when she was like 20. She looks exactly like Ingrid Bergman.
Oh, my.
I mean, just
Radiant.
radiant, beautiful, extraordinarily beautiful woman. And somehow makes her way to the United States, raises a family, and then
And now owns a Allstate agency or something.
she became a nun.
Oh, my goodness.
And I met her as the head, she was the head of the convent that she founded somewhere in the wilds of, it was, I think, north of here. And she had built.
I've read somewhere about this.
Okay, and so she was known then as Mother Alexandra.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in full habit,
All right.
and still beautiful.
Well, remember
face.
going on, not going on, the Bells of St. Mary's.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I went up to do a story on her and got so enthralled that I went back
You converted.
Yeah, no, I went back a few times. I just liked talking to her. So she would tell such stories, and I was just so engrossed. She lived in this little A-frame, and I went in to talk to her one day, and we're sitting there, and there was a beautiful little desk and this beautiful rug, and I remarked on the rug, and she said that was a gift from Tsar Nicholas. On my, I can't remember what. She was related to all of, she had, in fact, slept at Buckingham Palace. She considered, I mean, the Queen certainly knew her.
They always
all
said,
of them were related.
Well, they always said that because of the whole business of royalty only marrying royalty, except in modern times, that one of the reasons there were so many cases of insanity and
hemophilia and all this
was because
stuff.
every one of the
Inbred.
royal families was connected to Queen Victoria.
Right. So her cousins were, yes, in the royal families of Spain, and she had had relationships with many of them, but what a wondrous being she was.
No, dead, I presume.
She's dead now, yeah. And I don't know. People's lives are interesting. This woman of such, coming from
position.
A world and a stature and a position, and then ending quite happily and by her own choice in a little A-frame in Beaver County. Yep. It's interesting.
That almost sounds like something from Garrison Keillor, doesn't it? Well, here I have something that sort of is the direct opposite, but connects to Garrison Keillor. I was to a dinner party when I was in New York, and there I met this Southern woman from Mississippi. I can't remember which city. And she was a big personality, too, but just wild. But it turned out her family owns the largest egg-producing company in the world. And I said...
Oh, they torture all those chickens.
Oh, wait. And I said, Dee Dee, which is her name, Dee Dee, how many chickens you have? 25 million chickens.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord.
Which was very interesting.
Yes.
But more interesting, do you know how often a chicken lays an egg?
Well, they've made their facility so that those chickens lay eggs a lot, right?
Yes.
Well, not more than one a day.
Well, 20 hours, every 20 hours. I thought it required some sort of coitus to have an egg. No, I never knew that. The only time there was coitus is when you find a fertilized egg. But I didn't realize that these chickens are just plopping them out.
And they've got them, cheek to jowl, and they feed them certain things that make them. Can you imagine? They're just these poor egg machines.
Yeah.
It's sort of how the Republicans look at women.
Yeah, right, exactly. But they last about 2 months.
Oh.
And then they go and I don't know if they make them into pillows or something. I don't know.
Well, they slaughter them and must use the meat.
Well, but because I guess
it's used for something.
Pooped and stringy.
So then
and
it's used for dog food or cat food or something like that. Every bit of it is used.
But I thought 25 million chickens.
Oh.
I just thought that was fascinating. I'm a chicken heiress.
Is she Purdue?
No. Hers are just eggs. Purdue, I think they breed them for
chickens. Oh yeah, right. But she might be one of the largest egg manufacturers.
Oh yeah, I think they're in the world. So moving from Maria of Romania to
the queen of eggs,
to Mame McDowell and all these
women. All these women.
Too bad it's not Mother's Day. Then we'd have a theme.
That's true.
Or National Secretary's Day or something.
So did you hear about the cookie flap with Romney here the other day? Romney was in town.
I read that. Well, what a stupid thing to say.
It's so stupid
I
what he said.
I don't really care to eat a cookie, but when he sort of says, that was coming from 7-Eleven.
Well, here's what he said, and I got this from the Wall Street Journal. It made the Wall Street Journal. Romney's cookie joke upsets fans of bakery. Yeah. But, say you're Romney, you're running for president, you're sitting at a little picnic table with a bunch of people you don't know, and there are cookies and other... Why would you say something negative about the food?
Right.
Why would it's rude?
It's rude.
It's rude. You don't know who brought it. So here's what this says something about him. And how
I can't believe that Ann Romney, even though she was a stay-at-home mom, was baking Toll House cookies every day either.
Well, you don't know, but here's what he said. He sat down, and the Wall Street Journal says this, and he made an apparent attempt at humor. They said they thought he was trying to be funny. Now, this is how pathetic.
Yes, right.
He said, I'm not sure about these cookies. They don't look like you made them, he said, turning to one of the women. Oh. Now, right there, that is such a stupid thing. Yeah, right. What if she had made them? Yes. And what if it isn't her, but it's that woman?
Yes, right, exactly.
He's already in it. He's already about to diss the cookies. Yes. He could have offended anyone at that table. And he goes on he says to her, "Did you make these cookies? You didn't, did you?" No. They came from the local 7-Eleven bakery or whatever. Hadn't tasted them, hadn't anything. Just making a slighting remark about the cookies. And why would you ever do that? And how could that be an attempt at humor? What would be funny?
Well, if you're incapable of making a joke, I guess that's what it is. It's just stupid.
But it says something. Oh, here's Ed on the Queen.
Don't diss the cookies. Let's see.
Ed says, check out the Mary Hill Museum located in the Columbia River Gorge, Gorge, between Washington State and Oregon. Permanent exhibit of the Queen Mother Alexandra's furniture. She designed it. There are lots of thrones, Julie.
No, maybe Maria of Romania, not your friend.
No. Oh. That would be her mother or...
Yeah, that's what I think he's talking about.
Oh, okay. Mary Hill Museum.
Yeah, because your friend was the princess, not the queen.
She would have, I guess, been the queen. I don't know.
Isn't it amazing how people know weird stuff? You know, this man, he was like, "Thank you, your PhD in
Romanian thrones."
Yeah. But it's nice to know things like that.
Oh, hey guys. I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
Oh.
And I'm not going to be here Monday.
Oh.
And I'm not going to be here Tuesday.
Tears will be shed and dripping down the faces of every child.
Oh, yes.
In Western Pennsylvania.
Some terrible absence. But I will be here on Wednesday, okay? Wednesday with Potter, Thursday with...
Sokolowski.
Oh, my God, 2 in a row.
Yes.
I can't believe it.
And we will be replete with humor, wisdom, incunabula, and a good lot of hot air.
Incunabula.
Not a good word?
Yeah?
Good.
Okay, well, tell me what it means.
Well, it's like the combination of all sorts of recondite information. You're like almost like an encyclopedia of minutiae.
Geez, in telling us what it means, he uses the word recondite and...
A whole lot of stuff.
All right, okay. I love it. I like to feed my head. Thank you very much. Well, I don't know how to characterize this hour of Lynn Cullen Live, but it was...
She's getting out of town.
I'm leaving. This was fun for me.
Yes, it was fun for me too. Yes.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoyed it as well. And again...
Happy trails.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope I have a captain who is sane and not asleep, as well as all flight attendants. Yes, and I'll see and talk to you all again on Wednesday. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.